Usually give it a few seconds because normally there's a few seconds delay. Right, and I think we should be live. Yep, I can see. Right, welcome to the Liberalists channel, and I'm the host today, John. And that's yours. So that's why we need to sort this out. Today we have with us Toni Bugle, the founder of MARIAS, Mothers Against Radical Islam and Sharia. Hello, Toni. How are you doing today?
Well, it's nice to see the rain. I've got to be honest, it's quite nice to see the rain. I'm quite enjoying sort of opening my window, not going to bed and melting. It's quite nice. And so, yeah, it makes a rare change over the last few months of the heat wave.
Finally feel like British weather again, yeah?
Yeah. I love our British weather. I don't know why we all complain about it, if I'm honest, because let's face it, we don't get tsunamis, we don't get tidal waves, we don't get hurricanes, we don't get tornadoes, we don't get anything that wipes entire areas out. So I think our weather's not that bad, really, on the grand scale of weather.
Excellent. Right. Okay. So tell us a bit more about yourself and your movement and how it all get started. So, because not many of our audience may have known about you.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure that they may not want to know much about me afterwards.
Well, you're here now, so let's go.
Right, we'll give it a go. Right. Okay. I started the organisation up because, to be honest with you, I have sat back and I've seen the growing rate gain spreading across the country over the last few years. Now, as I told you, we spoke on the phone. I told you a little bit about my life, and as I said to you, I'm an open book. You can ask me anything. But I am a survivor of gang rape. I wasn't raped by Muslims, but when I lived, it put me into a position where I had to live at home. I had to leave home, and I ended up living homeless on the streets in London. And during that time, there was a young girl on the streets with me, and she was being pimped out by these Pakistani men. Now, at the time, there was no connection in my head. I didn't make any connection to it. But years later, when Rotherham broke, there were things being said, and I'm thinking, I've heard this before. I know this. Why do I feel I know this? And it was the comments such as white whore, white slag, white trash, those sort of things. And I remembered the young girl that was being pimped out on the streets at the time, and that's how they would refer to her. Now, I was in a position where there was quite a bad attack against her, and I went and got help, which got her off of the streets. And in doing so, according to those particular pimps, her debt became my debt. They then pursued me, never managed to get me, for long enough to drag me where they wanted me and put me out on the street. So I was very fortunate in that respect. But I was beaten up on several occasions where I was kicked, spat, and I was spat out, kicked, and I was dragged by my hair. And I was continuously called white whore, white slag, white trash. So you can imagine when Rotherham breaks and you hear all of this, all of these things, it was like somebody had given me a memory flash, took me to a place that wasn't a good place for me to be, really, if I'm honest. Whilst it certainly wasn't a place where I wanted to revisit,
Right, hang on.
I was a survivor.
Right, hang on a second. We've got someone said they can't hear anything from the chat. Let me.
Well, that's all down to you, I'm not.
Right. Let me see. Chat, is the volume low or you can't hear anything at all?
Watching the chat.
Oh no, actually, someone else said it's okay. So maybe it's just that one member of audience. Okay, I think we can continue. It's probably just him.
Right, oh well, sorry. Fingers crossed.
Sorry for the interruption. Continue.
No, that's fine. So, like I said, it took me to a place where it wasn't a place I wanted to revisit in my life. It certainly wasn't a memory I wished to relive. Because I saw myself, at that point, I was a survivor of what I'd gone through. I wasn't a victim. But then something inside me, between this emotional bubble of hurt and pain and anxiety, panic attacks, because I mean, I suffer even now with panic attack. I still occasionally, and I also suffer with night terrors, which are completely out of my control. But I kind of got a control of my own life, and I've got on with my life. I've had children, I've got married, you know, I've raised my kids. And then all of a sudden, there it is, it's staring me in the face again. That's how it felt for me. But as time unfolded, I realized that I was a stronger person than this. I was never going to be beaten down by these people, not emotionally, physically, or any other way. But what I did realize is there was a lot of young girls out there and boys that aren't in a position where they can fight back and are still being either victimized, are still being trafficked, or they are still victims of the emotional abuse afterwards, the emotional hurt that you suffer afterwards. And I thought, well, if I can help, then, you know, I'll help. Then I started to hear about Sharia law. I had some friends who lived in Egypt who were Muslim. I started asking questions like you do. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is all wrong. This is all wrong. You know, we've got girls being raped, you've got Muslim women being beaten, and Sharia law saying it's okay to do so. We've got forced marriages, we've got female genital mutilation. I'm thinking, what has the world come to? And I'm watching these so-called feminists standing, as you and I said earlier, you know, where with their moral faux outrage, they're outraged over everything they claim that Western society is misogyny and bullshit like that. But you're saying nothing when it comes to Sharia law, where Muslim women are abused. You're saying nothing about girls being groomed and raped and trafficked. It started with Sikh girls, and I believe it still continues. Maybe not on the same level, but it obviously still continues. But now predominantly white girls, and these men are predominantly Pakistani, and they're all Muslim. And I'm thinking, but you say nothing. You sit silent. Well, this, as you can imagine, being the lioness I am and protective of my cubs, I thought, no, this is not good enough. And I was sat in my living room one day, and that's where the idea for Mothers Against Radical Islam and Sharia came from, because I thought, well, you know, it's one thing to piss off the dads, but it's quite another to piss off the mothers and the grandmothers and the aunts and the sisters. So I came up with the idea, and then after that, girls that started to realise, and my own personal story is up on my website. And for anybody who wants to check that out, it's marias.org.uk. And I put my own personal experience up there, because I thought, you know, if the girls are going to trust you to talk to you, they need to know you understand, or you have an understanding of what they've gone through or what they're going through. And the only way you can do that is if you're honest enough to say, this is what happened to me. So that's what I did. And it kind of took off from there. And then I took in Muslim women into my home. I can tell you a couple of, one case in particular if you want. If I'm not talking too much, you have to tell me if I am.
Oh, no problem at all. Well, first of all, the link to her website is in the description of the video. So if anyone to check that out, her story is in the About section. So feel free to look that up afterwards. And I actually quite like the acronym. It actually spells MARIAS as well, actually.
Yeah, well, I wanted something feminine. And what many people don't realise when they look at the logo is the colours of the suffragettes. Because I believe I'm a true feminist. No, I don't see these women as feminists. These are little femi-fascists, men-hating women who wish they could pee standing up, and they hate the fact that they can't. They really are offended over the most ridiculous things, like a wolf whistle. Oh, a wolf whistles me. This is sexual assault. No, not being pinned down on a bed and raped, or being touched, groped, interfered with. That's sexual assault. What you're doing is actually robbing women of a certain age, like myself. I am a lady of a certain age. If I get a wolf whistle now, I say, thank you very much. I'm glad I've still got something. I'm not sure what it is, but I appreciate I've got something. I don't take it as an insult. I genuinely don't take it as an insult. But these women are climbing the walls over this. The same as we saw with the Trump being offended because he said, you know, when you're as wealthy as me, you can grab them by the pussy. He didn't say, I did grab them by the pussy. He said he could. Now, then what he really means by that is that when you're that rich and that wealthy, they will literally let you. No, I'm sorry, but there is an element of truth in that. There just is. Or do you think I'm wrong to say that? I'm asking you if you think that that's a wrong thing to say. Do you not agree that it was words, not an action? It was just
well,
words.
yeah, it is the thing. I think a lot of the problem right now is selective. The outrage. They're picking on things in a very selective way that is ideological. For instance, they think Islam, because Islam is oppressed in their conceptualization, because most Muslims are brown people. They think it's racist to pick on them. They make the conflation, and therefore it becomes untouchable. So it's a really
unfortunately though, most of the men have been predominantly Pakistani, but not all. Some have been Kurdish, some have been Iraqi, some have been Afghan, some have been Bangladeshi. But the one thing they are is all Muslim, and they'll always say to me, it's got nothing to do with their religion. I go, but I'm not talking about their religion. Islam is a religion. Muslim is how they identify themselves. If this was a Sikh man, I would call it a Sikh man. If it was a Sikh gang, I would call it a Sikh gang. When it was Catholic priests, I called them Catholic priests. And if some man went out and committed an act of terror and shouted at the top of his voice in the name of God and Jesus, I'd say he's a Christian terrorist. I fail to see why I can't. But then they'll always come up with this argument. And I want to say to them, but hang on a minute. When Sadiq Khan became the mayor of London, it didn't say first Asian mayor of London. It said first Muslim mayor of London. So are you only a Muslim when you do something good? Although I don't think him being the mayor is good. You get my bet.
I was actually at his State of London debate. Oh my God, what a shit show that was.
Was it that bad? I couldn't have gone. I think they would have had to have taken me out on the stretcher, because I think I might have passed out with a shit.
a lot of people got taken out. Let's put it that way. Actually, the full video is also on this channel, because I was actually standing behind Justice for the Boys group, and they were screaming quite loud. They got escorted out quite early on.
And again, the Justice for the Boys, you know, that whole thing. I mean, I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. What I do know is these parents have got a legitimate grievance. They feel this is not it clearly hasn't been investigated properly. Needs to be investigated properly. Why is it okay to have these failings and Sadiq Khan sits there with that sanctimonious smile on his face that you could just slap over the other side of the road? To be quite honest with you, I am not a fan of Sadiq Khan, but there are people who I am a huge supporter of. Rahil Raza, for example, who's coming along on the 20th. Massive. Not only am I a huge admirer of Rahil's, she's a personal friend of mine. Ryan Matar here, again, fantastic woman, amazing person, somebody I have the greatest respect for. Fawzia Rashid, again, there's a blog on my website by Fawzia Rashid. Fawzia Rashid went into the House of Lords and she told them, if you do not stop Sharia law in this country now, you will see gays thrown off buildings. You will see amputations. You will see women lashed in the streets and men lashed in the streets and adulterers stoned to death. It will happen. Now, I have to tip my hat to any Muslim woman who has the courage to go into the House of Lords and tell them exactly what is going to happen if they don't stop Sharia law. And this is why I organised the event on the 20th, because I thought, you see the left, they have this thing. I've watched quite a few interviews and they say things like, they say they're not anti-Muslim, but you never see a Muslim on the platform. So, right. Well, you've laid down the gauntlet now, and I'm going to prove to you we can. But not only can we put Muslims on a platform, Muslims are willing to get on a platform. And they will stand shoulder to shoulder with me, and they're just as outraged over Sharia law and forced marriages and female genital mutilation, or all the things that I'm concerned about, but they're equally not afraid to use the word Muslim rape gangs. They don't shy from it. They're not afraid to say it. Sadiq Khan is a chicken shit bastard. He's got, that man has got no spine. I think he left it on the top of a double-decker bus when his father was driving them. My grandfather was a bus driver for London Regional Transport, so I own the right to insult that as much as I wish. My actual insult is to him and not bus drivers. I don't like him. I think he's a dangerous little man. I don't like the fact he refers to people as Uncle Toms, and everybody goes, oh, he's allowed to say that because he's a brown man. No, because if I said it, you'd be furious. He has selective outrage.
Absolutely. Well, it's not even actually. That's not even quite as bad as that Labour MP that said the victim should keep the mouth shut for the sake of diversity. Well, I'm paraphrasing. Remember that Naz, whatever her name is.
Nasha.
Yes, that one. Or
when she retweeted and liked the tweet that said the girls of, I think it was the girls of Rotherham should learn to shut their mouths for the sake of diversity. And she liked it and retweeted it and said it was an accident. I was thinking, hang on, accidentally catching a heartburn, okay, I can let that off as a possible error, but hitting the retweet button as well, I don't think so. Now's for you. And she's anti-Semitic as well. Why is the whole Labour Party literally swamped with anti-Semitism? Maybe because the leaders are anti-Semitic. You know, there is a real possibility that he sets the precedence there, does Mr. Corbynista. And I can't bear him either. This is where people in politics are stuck, because I don't like the Tories. I detest Labour.
So there you go. Welcome to UKIP.
Which is why I back UKIP all the way. I do. But by the same token, I'm not British. I'm English.
What's your distinction between English and British?
Because I was born in England. I wasn't born in Scotland, Highland or Wales. Yeah. And if you could be Scottish and British, and you could be Welsh and British, and you could be Irish and British, why can't I be English and British? I was born in England. I wasn't born anywhere else. I'm English. And the fact that they want to strip this identity from us, breaking us down, and they say they don't want to change our culture. They're changing our culture. I mean, I put a link up yesterday, and they're doing a musical, West End musical, of the life of Emmeline Pankhurst. And they've chosen Beverly Knight to play Emmeline Pankhurst. Now, don't get me wrong, I have absolutely no issue with Beverly Knight playing any role that she so chooses. But could you imagine if we then said, well, we want to have a musical and we want, I don't know, think of a famous English actress. There isn't that many famous English actresses, really, is there? Let's say Dawn French, for example. We want her to play Winnie Mandela. Could you imagine the outrage? Could you imagine the absolute roar of anger they would be? How dare you strip our cultural identity? You see, I don't want to take their identity away. I don't want to take anyone's identity away. But I feel mine is constantly stripped from me. I'm not allowed to be proud to be English.
That's very
and I am.
Excellent. Yeah, because I remember I was actually attended one of the Free Tommy one of the Free Tommy rally quite early on, and I was in a pub. I was just at a pub at a bar talking to some random chap, and I was talking about how I don't like that the flag of our nation is now we've been told is a symbol of racism. Right, and then some other bloke on the other side of the bar just overheard the conversation. He's like, he just said our flag, he's one of us, and he bought me a pint. So it's not a bone of racism between all these working class people that we've been labelled like so strongly.
We do have classism, though. That exists. Real classism does exist. I mean, there is this real, if you're very filthy rich, there's an air of superiority over the working class people. But I equally acknowledge that the working class now will look at the filthy rich and go, you will never represent me, and you will never be the voice of someone like me. And that's because we've had the filthy rich elite going into the House of Lords and the House of Commons. The House of Commons is called the House of Commons because it's got a common people. There's not one common person in there. You know, that has to change. But I've just noticed somebody's just asked me a question, and I do want to answer this for a reason. Because somebody's just asked me, can you ask her what her beef with Peter Tatchell is? Where would you like me to start? My beef with Peter Tatchell. Peter Tatchell was an advocate years back for the Paedophile Information Exchange, as was Harriet Harman. Peter Tatchell also was involved in writing a portion of a book which was called The Trail of Youth, which spells the initials boy. Peter Tatchell was also an advocate and campaigner to get the age of consent lowered. Now, he denies this, but he wanted it lowered to the age of 8. When he couldn't get that, they lowered it to 16, and he said 16 is only the beginning. He also wrote a small piece where he said, not all sex with children is unwanted, nor is there any evidence it proves it causes any psychological or physical harm. And that in some other countries, young boys, when having had a sexual relationship with grown men, can be better husbands. Well, Peter, I'd like to ask you what happened to you as a boy, because clearly there's your psychological damage right there if you think sex with children is not always unwanted. So that's my issue with Peter Tatchell. He also thinks that we should have gender neutrality.
Oh dear, that's probably quite one of the worst things. It's just causing gender confusion in children. I don't even know where to start with that.
Oh, you could literally start with gender neutral toilet. This is what my debate with him on RT was about. And he was all for gender neutral toilets. Now, I've got a lady in touch with me at the moment. She works at a senior school. And in this senior school, they've got gender neutral toilets, which have got no doors. So they're basically sort of like half circles, no door whatsoever. Okay. So now you've got children between the age of 11 and 16. That's the senior school age. All of these children are going into the same toilets with no doors, nowhere, no privacy, none whatsoever. So those little girls changing sanitary towels, and maybe they start their periods at school unexpectedly, so you can imagine the state of girls in. She wants some privacy. Or you've got a little boy, you know, I've known it happen at senior school where a boy got his penis caught in his fine. If he's going into the toilet to sort himself out, I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to go there. But it wasn't just for the children. It was for the teachers too. Male and female. Children from the age of 11 to 16 and grown-ass adults. And it was so bad, she would not go in there. She'd go all day without going to the toilet. And she'd wait till she got home before she would go to the loo. Peter wants gender-neutral toilets. I hope that answers the chap's question as to why I don't like it.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. Well, let's talk more about your event that you have coming up on the 20th.
Yeah, we've got the MARIAS. I called it very short. Month Against Radical Islam March. So it's the Mali March. It's on the 20th of August. Now, it's only today. We have a slight possibility we may have to do a very quick change of area because of the liability insurance and the fact they tell you last minute. They don't tell you months in advance. But the idea of this, so basically, we've been getting these little teddy bears, which I don't know if you can see on my sofa over there. There's some teddy bears sitting up on the corner. I don't know if you can see them. And each bear is wearing a MARIAS t-shirt, and each t-shirt has the name of a town or a city where a Muslim rape gang was operated or is operated. And the people are going to be coming along. Those that are sponsored the bears, I will be bringing us some along with me on the day. So if people do want to purchase a bear, all the money will help pay for the event itself, because everything at the moment I pay for out of my own pocket, and I am only a disabled person. I really don't have a lot of money. The rest of it will be used to help a girl either to get an apostate, which I've done. I've taken apostates out of areas and I've got them to safe houses, and they've had an opportunity to start their lives. Or it'll help a young girl who's been groomed, raped, trafficked, whether it helps her with counselling, maybe it helps her with transport, maybe it helps with security, maybe it'll help her with, you know, for me to be able to go and see her regular, and to give her that friendship she needs. Maybe it will help with getting her moved, because a lot of these girls want to get moved out of the areas where they are. So that's what the bears will be for. But the bears, well, the idea of the bear is it represents childhood. That's the whole point of it. So
okay,
on the march,
if you send me a link via Facebook or something, I'll add the link to the bears to the description of the video as well.
Not a problem, can do that. Now the whole point of the bears as well is, you know as well as I do, that anybody who does any kind of march, it's a natural instinct when you're having fun to stick your arms up in the air. It just is, you know, whether you're waving, whatever. And the minute you do, the hard left will photograph you and go, Nazis. So I want everybody with a teddy bear in their hand to stick their arm in the air. Not quite sure they can make that look like a Nazi salute.
It'll be Nazi bears, I'm sure.
Well, if they want to put little stickers on them and abuse those bears, then shame on them. Now, coming along for speakers, we've got Baroness Cox. Baroness Cox is a formidable woman who, she goes out to places like Nigeria. She's had Boko Haram target her. She's been out to Armenia, in Sudan, where there is a bounty on her head. I believe it's for £78,000 that they want her dead. But she goes in there anyway, even though she's banned, and she hides amongst the people, and she gets out there to really help the plight of the Armenian people, the same as she's been out to see the Yazidi girls. But equally, she's trying to help by, she's got a private members bill to address the issue of Sharia law courts in this country. She has nothing against people practicing personal Sharia, i.e. they're praying and whatever they want to do. When it comes to Sharia law, she does have an issue. So she's going to be coming along and she's going to be speaking. I know she's flying in from Australia that morning, coming straight down. That's why I'm going to put her up first to speak. So I'll give her a fair play for that. So round of applause for Caroline. She's a golden star. Then I've got Rahil Raza. Now, anybody who doesn't know who Rahil is, just type in Rahil Raza, Islam by the numbers. She's an absolutely amazing Muslim lady. And she breaks it down so that when they say it's just a few, it shows you how those just a few can be extremely dangerous and why it's extremely dangerous. She also was involved with the Honor Diaries and the Clarion Project. So as I said, another formidable lady. And I have a lady called Dr. Roma Tahir and another lady called Fozia Rashid, who I mentioned earlier. These are ladies that Roma I've been supporting now for the last 5 years. She was a victim of, any way you could describe it really, is marriage fraud. But I will let her talk about her experience as much as she can. I will also have a young lady called Samantha. Samantha was targeted at the age of 11, raped the first time at the age of 11, trafficked as far as Wales, right up until she was, you know, for quite a few years. It went on for quite a few years. Again, Samantha's going to write a statement now. She's too nervous to speak publicly herself, but she does want to stand next to me, which is absolutely fine. I have no issue with that. If that's what she wants to do, I'm fine with that. And on the other side of me will be a lady called Torrin. Now, Torrin is the mother of Becky Watson. Becky Watson was raped the very first time she was raped and trafficked. She was only 11 years old. She was dead at the age of 13. She was killed by a Muslim man who the newspapers reported it as a prank that went wrong. So she's going to be writing something out now. I know she'd like to try and speak herself, but it is quite an emotional thing for her because you can imagine she's from Telford. It's hit the news again, and Becky's name was again all over the newspapers. So these are immensely brave women, you know, immensely brave women who I don't just think a lot of them. I love each and every girl I help, and I have helped a lot of girls. And some will always be victims because there's just no way of pulling them through. Other girls go on to become survivors. There was a young girl called Caitlin Spencer who wrote a book called Please Let Me Go. When I first met Caitlin, 2 weeks after meeting her, she attempted suicide. She again was raped and trafficked by hundreds of Muslim men. Now, 4 years later, she's written a book. So, you know, what I try to do is I try to get them, and I hold their hand all the way through, so that we can go through the mode of pulling them all the way through this long, dark tunnel to the other end, so they become survivors. Now, once we get into survivor, I want them all to turn into warriors, because that's how I see myself. You know, if you declare war on women, by Christ, you're going to create warriors. And as far as I'm concerned, war has been declared on women. And yes, men are welcome. It's not an all women's march, but I want the women at the front. I want the men at the back. Because what I'm trying to show is the message, especially when it comes to Sharia law, that the men in this country do not make their women walk 10 steps behind. They drive them to the forefront. And they walk behind them with pride. And that's what I want to show. So that's why I want the women at the front and then the men. Does that make sense? I covered everything.
I think it's great that you are providing a platform for the women, like the victims, in this event. I think actually, so it's a great thing. And I think also though, because it's also for them, is like once they've actually gone through it, psychologically, that get them through, because it's the kind of like PTSD. Because if you don't resolve the issue, it will haunt you forever. So
sorry, it's my daughter just come home.
All right, hello. So yeah, so I think once they've gone through something like this, it's a transformation for them as well, in order to finally get over this, and they no longer suffer from it, and they can in turn help other victims. I think it's an excellent idea.
Well, that's the idea. If we can get them just one step at a time, that's all I want these young ladies to understand, is it one step at a time. You know, this not a race. We'll go at whatever pace they're comfortable at. And to know that you can talk to somebody who knows what rape does. And that's what people don't understand. And people can read as many books as you like, but until you listen to a girl or a woman and hear what she's had to go through and the torture they've had to go through. Even Caitlin was beaten with chains. She was tortured. They held drills to her knees. She was taken out to the woods in the middle of the night. They threatened to bury her. They threatened to bury her on the floorboards. There was guns. Just the most horrendous abuse and rape. It's not just about abuse. It's about breaking her down and destroying her in every conceivable way. Mind, body, soul, everything. So if you turn those girls into survivors, then I think, and that's what MARIAS does. And as I said, I'm not saying that every single one is a success. You know, I can only help as many as I can help, but I will continue. And I will sometimes be up to 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning with no sleep, because I'm at the end of that phone for them. And if that's all I can do, it's better than nothing. I do a lot more than that, but I don't think that that's something, it's not really about me. It's about these girls. I love all of them so much. They are the people that matter. They're the warriors in my eyes, and they're the real heroes.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I think, yeah, because is that like I went to how I got hold of Toni was I went to Speaker's Corner two weeks ago, and there was an event for victims of grooming, and after listening to gut-wrenching stories of each and every one of them, I found it quite fascinating, and I'm actually at all that they're not only they've saved themselves from the death of hell, they've actually gone through and become protectors of other victims, and I think that's absolutely amazing. So I highly urge anyone who's about in London on the 20th to join us. I know it's a Monday, which could be a problematic for a lot of people to attend, because it's Monday. What time are you scheduled at the moment? Is it still 11 a.m.?
Well, the idea is we're going to meet. I've told people to start meeting at 11, but we're not going to be moving off to speak until 1 p.m. So there's no mad hurry, but it's to give plenty of time for people to come along. And I'm also going to try and grab the ordinary Joe blogs off the street. But the reason I did that is because people hold their demos and their protests and their rallies on a Saturday and a Sunday and scream at the House of Lords and point at it with their fingers and go, "Gee, let us down." The truth of it is, there's nobody in that building. It's a weekend. They got near anyway. They've all gone home. They're all having a good time in their swimming pool while you're all sweating your nads off on a weekend. So I thought, well, on Monday, it's during the school holidays, and I want women to be there, and a lot of women will take time off during the school holidays. So I'm asking dads if they could just have the kids for the day, 2 days maximum, if people are travelling from the north. That would be greatly appreciated. And I was in Sunderland with the ladies in Sunderland, because I went and gave a speech there. So just let you know, girls, I am wearing my Sunderland wristband that I purchased on the day. And there wasn't masses of women, but it's a start. And I just want to see something where the women are leading and not mingling or following. I want the women out the front, and I want the men to understand this is a positive thing and that they are the driving force behind us women, because without them, there'd be no driving force. We do need them. We're the nail, they're the hammer.
Cool. So, so how many people are you expecting so far, do you think?
At the moment on the link, it's telling me about 400. I would obviously like to see 1,000.
Well, to be fair, for Monday, that is considerable.
That's how many have said they're going, but you and I both, no, cut that in half. You might be lucky if you get that. But even then, I'd rather have 100 to 200 people who understand than 1,000 who don't. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got 1,000 people, and most of them just want to go and have a punch up. They don't really get it.
Well, if you got the ladies in the front, there's no punch up there.
No, I don't know. I know a few ladies that can hold their own. I do.
The ladies having their own punch up.
Yeah, well, most women can start around a room on their own, can't they? I mean, we are known for it. Unfortunately, I hold my hands up. I have in the past been known to be able to start around with myself in the room on my own. I admit this.
Are you expecting any counter protesters?
I'm not expecting it, but one can never say never, can you really? You can't say that. And I mean, stand up to racism. Hate.
It's always ironic because like they always show up, and then it was usually like some white women screaming at some guy who is a minority and then calling them racist. I had that before. Yeah. It's quite funny.
I've seen it.
I know.
I've seen it, and the best thing was when we was in Edinburgh, and there was a group of stand up to racism, and all shouting, "What is it? Fascist, racist, off our streets. We are black, white, Muslim, gay, and Jew." And I went over and I'm looking, I'm thinking, you're not. You're all middle-aged, balding, white, porridge-coloured skinned men, is what you are. There wasn't a single diverse person amongst them. There wasn't a black, there wasn't a white, there wasn't a Jew, there wasn't nothing. Over on our side, we've got apostates that were Bangladeshi, we got Pakistani, we had black, we had white. We were so diverse, it was unreal, but they were still screaming this over. I think at one point I did turn and go, I am louder than you, I am prouder than you, and by Christ, I am stronger than you. Because that's how I feel about them. They are not strong enough to shut me down. So even if they do turn up, quite frankly, they'll probably end up with egg on their face, because I will just humiliate them. There will be no violence. I don't want anything that is aggressive. In fact, I'd rather everybody turn around and shake their hair at them. Because what are you going to do? How stupid are they going to look challenging people carrying a teddy bear? You know, it would look pretty pathetic. maybe they're bearists, I don't know. They suffer from bearism. You know, I'd be shocked if anybody did counter protest it, but I do know stand up.
No, I don't think they would, but I think it would be hugely ironic if they actually do. I remember one event, there was the entire security crew were black, and there was like the entire group of white people came. This is not plain identity for it. It's just stating, it's just a description of what is actually happening, of them calling them racist. Like, but the entire crew of security are all black, standing in front, going, "Oh man, what's going on?" They were confused.
I just honestly, I sit there and think to myself sometimes that I've watched some of the videos I've watched of protests and things like that, and I sit, oh my, I hear all of these ridiculous comments, and I'm looking at them thinking, yeah, we went to the Brexit march, but we were sent through the Remains march, and as I'm walking through, there was Salbury, I think her name is, the MP. She's up on the platform. There's a big television screen, and she's up on the platform saying, everybody who voted for Brexit is stupid. Right? Well, this straight away, I'm like, pretty sure I'm not fucking stupid. Pretty sure I knew exactly what I was voting for. And as we were walking through, I got to one side of me, I've got Janaya. To the other side of me was Red Pill Phil. So we're walking along, but Janaya's like about 5 feet in front of me because I'm old and on 2 knackered knees, so I don't walk so fast anymore. And Red Pill, I think he was filming, so he was sort of turned that way. And there was me and another guy, we're stood side by side. And as I'm walking along, this guy gets level with Janaya. He looks at her t-shirt, which has got out written on it. And as he gets past her, turns his head and called her a filthy Nazi Negro. Now, at the time, I'd broken my Google Pixel phone, and I'd got this Samsung Galaxy S7, which I'd had to buy second-hand. No idea how it worked at all. Hadn't got a clue. I'm thinking I've got this on camera, video camera, but I've got it on photograph. But I'm not pressing it. I'm just holding it, thinking I'm filming. And then the guy, he said, that's not recording, it's on photograph. I was like, shit. So by the time I turned around, this guy had disappeared into the crowd, which really annoyed me because of what he'd said. So when I got up to where what we called I think we nicknamed them the Disco Moaning Revelers, because there was this group of women behind the black barricades where they were singing. And they were singing songs where they were changing the lyrics and calling everything Brexit and things like that. And she tried to get me to sing along with that. That's like, yay, go on then. And I was looking at her, I went, not me, love. I said, I'm about leave. And she sort of went, what? I said, I'm a proud Brexiteer. And as I'm saying it, of course, my phone is closer to me than it is to her. And there's also me. Sounds like I'm shouting. I wasn't actually shouting. I was just trying to get her to hear that I was a proud vote leave. And she waved me down to say, come and have a chat with me. So I walked to where the gate was, but she sort of walked towards me, stopped, went backwards, stopped this other lady, whispered in her ear, and I said, what's this gang mob mentality? You can't talk to me on your own. You've got to drag somebody else in to join you. You know what? You can't have a conversation. So this woman's come home. She goes, not interested. I said, well, I never said you were. I said, but I didn't ask to speak to you. I said, your mate won't speak to me. Nothing to do with you. So she's going all on one. And I said, look, as far as I'm concerned, what you're doing is undemocratic. By that, I didn't mean the protest, obviously. I mean the fact that they wanted a second referendum, a third referendum, a fourth referendum. You know, as many as it takes to get out. And so there was, and somebody said the word racist. I said, racist. I said, listen. I said, one of my friends that I've just been with, I said, a guy's just walked past her. In fact, I never even said a guy. I said, someone. I said, someone's just walked past her. Turned around, I said, and referred to her as a filthy Nazi Negro. That's racism. And the woman, immediate to this woman's left, turned around and said, if she's anything like you, she probably is. Now, to me, you've just agreed. Now, if you've agreed, then that's because you think that what this woman, what this person said and what she's called her is acceptable. So Janaya had come up, but Janaya had got the story slightly, she'd got it slightly wrong. I tried to explain, because she got all the noise going on around her. And then I'd gone one way and Janaya had gone another because we'd gone off and done our own separate things. And she'd put a tweet out of the woman on the left and said she called me it. She never called her it, but what she has done in saying what she said is as good as calling her it. You see what I mean? Does that make sense? Has he fallen asleep on me?
Sorry?
I'm not sure if he can. Oh, there he is. So the fact that she said what she said and agreed with it made her as much of a racist, in my opinion.
It's guilt by association. They play that card quite a lot. It's like if you hang around with someone that we deemed untouchable, you're also the same as them. But
the fact is, it was one of their lot that called Janaya a filthy Nazi Negro. That didn't come from me. Do you know what I mean? I would never. And the other thing is, if somebody on the left came up and said to me that somebody in the Brexit side had used that term, my very first reaction is going to be, they said, what? That is disgusting. That's not acceptable. Did you see them? Can you see them now? Point them out to me, because we'll get a police officer. That's racist, right? That would be my first reaction. Hers was, if she's anything like you, she probably is. So you've just agreed then that Janaya is a filthy Nazi Negro. Therefore, you're as racist as the person who made the comment. But they were going, she never said that. I was like, she kind of just did.
You know, but I've been called a white supremacist a few times.
Let me guess. You're not white, are you?
Exactly.
I'm just guessing here with a name like Wong.
The joke is I'm the diversity Nazi, and the white supremacists love minorities, and I'm the diversity Nazi. I'm the outright infiltrator.
Honestly, it's Redfield Bill. He gets called a Zionist shit. He gets called the token brown boy, or the token black boy sometimes, coconut. And I'm sitting there thinking, then they call us racist. These are not terms I would ever do.
You see, I think this is what's going to be their subconsciousness, is because they're such racists, all they can see is race. They can't see anything else. They can't treat people as individuals. So they've gone through the lens of social justice that everyone are just racist because they are racist themselves. They can't see anything else.
But that is the truth. They really are racist. You know, they're the worst kind of racist, because they're the kind of racists who think it and don't have the balls to say it. They just think it. It comes out of them in other ways. And I have noticed, that's a bit like me. So I said to my daughter, I was joking with my daughter the other day, and I said, you must have, my daughter's dyed her hair purple, just an hairdresser. I said to Mommy, I said, on the 20th, they'll all think you're the lefty. She went, well, I said, because all the lefties have pink hair and pussy out. And she started laughing. She went, no, they don't. I said, no, I really do.
Right, to steer the conversation back to slightly more on topic, what do you think? Because recently I read on the news there was an article about the UK law recognizing Sharia marriages. What do you think about that?
Well, I got into a bit of debate over this because somebody told me that I was wrong and that this was a good thing. It's not a good thing, and I'll tell you why. If you think about it logically, that woman wasn't also married in the United English law. She had no English marriage certificate. She'd only been married in accordance to Sharia law. Now, we have things where a young couple live together, they're known as common law, man and wife. But unless they've been together for many, many years, you're not going to live with it. And that's after 6 months, you're classed as common law, man and wife. But that girl, if she needs to go and claim unemployment, is classed as a single girl claiming unemployment. She's not classed as a married woman. Her name is not a married name. She doesn't take his name on. And she doesn't become a Mrs. And she can't leave him and take half of everything that's his, like his bank account and savings and things like this. Now, with Sharia law, that's no different in the eyes of English law. They're living together. It's not a marriage. Now, by doing what they've done, what they've actually done is recognize Sharia law. Now, people are saying, well, yeah, but doesn't this give Muslim women the opportunity to go to court? Yes, but what it's doing is recognizing Sharia law. What we want, and what most of the Muslim women that I work with want, is for, if you want to have your nikah, what they call the marriage ceremony, that's fine. But you must also have a marriage license, an English-British marriage license, which will then give you the protection of getting a divorce through, because men can still go on and have his 4 wives under Sharia law. A man can still go up and say, I divorced you 3 times and walk away, leaving her with nothing, and I've gone back to Pakistan and she hasn't got a leg to stand on. It doesn't protect her. This was one case.
Because the conflict is because they claiming that by recognizing that they've been living together for so long, that they recognize the marriage, then she should have the same legal protection as a marriage, as a legal marriage. So in some instances, could you not argue that is giving her a protection that she would otherwise have missed out on?
No, we gave her that opportunity. Most Muslim women, if they are not protected by a marriage certificate that's in the eyes of our registrar, legally binding in the eyes of English law, then she will still only deal with Sharia. If they were forced to have both, if you want to have your Sharia marriage and your nikah ceremony, fine. But only on the condition you go to the registrar and your marriage is registered of birth, deaths, and marriages. It also means that in the eyes of the law, if we don't get rid of Sharia law, he can still take his 4 wives. That is Sharia law.
I'm not entirely sure if that actually recognizes that he can have 4 wives. I think it just recognizes
that you can have 4 wives.
I know that is under Sharia, but I'm not sure that the court case implies that a man can have 4 wives in the UK.
No, but it also doesn't say that he can't, because it's recognizing and acknowledging Sharia law.
Because
what it's just done is made Sharia marriage equal to an English marriage in this country. So therefore, how does that help with all of those Muslim women married under Sharia law but don't have an English marriage certificate?
You see, what I think the conflict might come is because if you recognize the first one, then does it mean you have to recognize his second wife as well? That is the problem. Because or is he going to say, well, you only recognize the first one that you don't have registered, not the second one?
No, because each of his 4 wives can see. This is the other thing that makes me laugh, is each of those 4 wives can live in a separate house. But each one can claim housing benefit. Each one can claim single parent benefit when they have their children. And yet, it's a Sharia marriage. So therefore, it's not equal to English marriage, is it? Because if you have more than 1 wife in English law, it's called bigamy. I just think this to me, look, I want women to be treated equally, and that includes Muslim women. So what he should have been made to do is he should have been made to have a proper ceremony, or at least a register where the marriage was registered, acknowledge that they've had a Sharia marriage. So now he should be made to recognise it, sign the paperwork to have it acknowledged under English law, and then she can divorce him. I can't see why, but what you've done is allowed it to run parallel. And as you just rightly said, this doesn't set the benchmark for getting rid of Sharia law. This sets the benchmark for Sharia law running parallel with English law.
I see. Because some would say that you still get this even if it's not Sharia, even if you're never married, if you've been together for I don't know like how long it has to be, then you are still recognized as being a partner or something. So you still get some legal protection, I think. So
but you should have equal protection in the eyes of. That's not what she got. She was given the same recognition as somebody who's married in the eyes of English law. That's what she was given, the same recognition.
Very well. Right. So anyway, so we've gone up nearly an hour. So is there anything else you want to talk to?
No, I think we've covered everything, and it's been lovely to have you on. And as I say, anybody who's out there that's got anything you're not doing on the 20th of August 2018, please make your way to Downing Street and meet us all there.
Right, so now the preliminary meeting point is Downing Street at 11. The link to the event is at the bottom, where it's the description of the video. So yeah, nice to have you on. Thank you very much, and we'll go offline. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. Thank you. Bye bye.